Hey gang, Will here from the Ashland Fly Shop. All right, we got an update for you on some fishing in the region for the 6th of June, first week of June, so let's get right to it. Okay, update on the Upper Rogue Holy Water. We've been getting a lot of calls about this, so I want to get you guys some information here. So let's start with flows. We have seen the flows kind of creeping up the last week. We're at about 2,800 out of the dam now, which is more in line where I kind of thought they would be. This hatch kind of started off with some kind of lower flows. So we've got some activity in the spillway at the Holy Water and the flows are up a bit, but it doesn't affect the main stem so much. So what's happening? Fly activity's down. It seems like we've seen on the main stem, we've seen the fly activity sort of peak and taper off a little quicker this year than usual. So you're not going to see a lot of bug activity. Like now it's time to maybe, fishing down below Rogue Elk Park is probably going to be pretty quiet. You might turn a few fish from the fish that are still seeing bugs drift down river and stuff, but you're not going to have a lot of bug activity, and I think the fishing activity is sort of tapering off. So that's below Rogue Elk. I would probably concentrate my efforts from the hatchery float down to Rogue Elk Park and really kind of concentrate in there. If you're doing any kind of drifting, you might even do that a couple times. But that's probably where you're going to see most of the kind of lingering salmon fly activity. And we have had some reports of good bugs. And I think a lot of the trout that we're looking for in the Holy Water are a little bit above Rogue Elk and down. So it's just going to be a little bit of poking around, trying to see what you find, and just expecting not that maybe fast and furious fishing happening on the main stem like we had last week. But it's nature. It changes a little bit all the time. It's cyclical, and so last year I feel like it extended out a little further, but this year it seems like it's tapering off a little quicker. Now, Holy Water Stretch. So Holy Water Stretch is in its real peak salmon fly activity right now just on the downside of the peak. And if you watch our salmon fly previews, you'll know that peak kind of has its own kind of cycle too. And so we're seeing that, and we're getting people telling us they've had great fishing and they've had really slow fishing when there's lots of bugs out. Most consistent fishing seems to be that last hour of the day when everybody's up there and the bugs are out and the bugs are hitting the water, and that's a real peak time. I do think you can still have good fishing at the Holy Water at different times throughout the day. So I would just, try some different things. It just depends on how much you like to be fishing around people. Some people can't tolerate it. Some people are okay with it. So, but expect to have some company up there. If you go earlier in the morning, be less people. You could have some great fishing, or it could be slow. So a little bit of a mix, but the bugs are out. It's time to go up there and fish. I would give it probably a good week up there, and then it should really start dropping right off. So that's what's going on in the Upper Rogue. Upper Klamath, Iron Gate Stretch have had a couple good reports. So bugs are out. There's some bug activity down there. They just really pushed the flows up 1,000 CFS in the last couple days, which really kind of sucks. Actually, it's really good for the river. It's important to flush out the smolts and get some fish moving and keep some cooler water moving through that system. But it can affect the fishing. It's hard to say, those fish are so tuned into those flies, it might not affect them very much, but the chances are it'll have some kind of impact on what's happening on that river. So flows bumped up, you're typically fishing out of a boat anyway, so it doesn't affect the angler too much. Fishing from that Iron Gate Stretch down to Klamath on Bridge, which is really the only section that I would fish for salmon flies, golden stones on the Upper Klamath. But should be a little window of opportunity there for another I don't know, maybe week or so, and then you really got to pay attention to water temperature. It really pokes up into the 60s and upper 60s, and that's just game over. You just really don't want to stress those fish out too much up there. That's what's going on in the Upper Klamath. Northern California, a little out of touch with that, but upper Sac flows dropping down in the last week. We've really gotten some good feedback on that. think they're still probably up, but I think the fishing would be really, really worth checking out right now. McLeod, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's probably around the same story. Flows are probably a little high for the most comfortable wading and fishing in that river, but the next 2 or 3 weeks is really going to see all that stuff come down into shape and just be really game on. The next 4 weeks, 5 weeks is going to be the best fishing of the year in that whole, Mount Shasta area. Save maybe Hat Creek or Fall River. Sometimes they come off peak a little bit in June with the warmer temps, but those freestone rivers, if you like any small stream fishing around Mount Shasta, anything like that, it's going to be just game on up there. So that's going to take us through trout fishing. We will continue to update you through that peak of the fishing and into the summer, and then put a bug in your ear for steelhead. And they are right around the corner, and we are starting to think about them on the Rogue for sure. We're starting to think about summer steelhead, and we expect to find the first one typically in the last week or so of June. So we'll keep you tuned into that. Start thinking about it. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate you watching this short update, and we'll be back next week with a more in-depth report. Thanks so much. See you then.